Fred Film Radio. This is Nicolò Comotti here, the 76th edition of the Venice Film Festival, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Costa-Gavras. Welcome.
Thank you.
May I call you Mr. Gavras or Costa, or how can I address you?
Costa, whatever.
Perfect.
Not Mister.
Oh, Mister, only Mister.
No, Mister.
I'm joking. But I was just telling you off the record that I just managed, and I was very lucky to watch your film, Adults in the Room. When you really, I mean, it's just such an epic tragedy. We need to call it tragedy, but you actually managed to keep a touch, or almost like a humorous touch in it, because the scene is absurd. There's a moment of absurdity with the highest people in power governing us, whether we want it or not. But I found like your way to portray it, it was an extreme commitment in writing. In order to do so, you had to really write and find the right balance. So how long actually did it take for you to first, of course, gain all the information and then put it into a script?
Almost 3 years.
3 years, wow.
From the moment I decided to make the movie, I had the Varoufakis book in my hands. I started working on material before, but the book was determinant to make the movie. Then I started to build the script and then to verify everything we say in every line, and it was possible to be done because Varoufakis have a big archive and then find things other places, newspaper, television and so forth. That takes a lot of time.
Of course. And it goes so much behind the scenes too that it's probably like an unheard of situation to really see what really went on when all of us were watching the news and we had all these filters, but actually you go beyond it. And the figure of Varoufakis as well, from the media perception was always, let's call it controversial, it was sort of media driven, but at the same time you felt that it was something very genuine about him. So how was your relationship with him first and then after meeting him?
I decided to not make about Varoufakis a hero, the kind of hero making the cinema. But he's an important man because he writes very well. He's a good writer, he wrote good books. In that particular situation, he has a very, very precise role to play. Because he was a big specialist of economics. That was important to show. But also he's not a perfect man. He has, he likes media, he's this and that, he can be violent. But when he speaks about economics, he's just. Yeah. That was important for the movie.
And did you find any kind of difficulty into gaining the information, or it was all out there and it's just about actually really have the patience?
It's out there, everything. Yeah. If you go through Google, it's amazing the things you can find. But needs time, a lot of lecture, read a lot of things.
And have you ever thought about taking a certain direction with the movie and then maybe by collecting everything you decided to veer into a different way? Because as I said, by watching the film, it seems like it is almost, as you said, patience is such an amazing virtue that not many people have. But also the amount of information that you have to collect and juggle with is so big that you could probably take so many different directions into telling the story.
My general direction is, when we make a movie, we make a spectacle. Right. It's a show. And the people go to see a show, they don't go to listen to a speech, academic or political speech. So that was important, to put some humor, to see the other side of the things, the humoristic way of the things, or the negative things, or the violent things, to show all those things. And then they give the clear information also in a certain way to the audience and to decide, but also to spend a moment being very interested in what is going on there. Because I repeat, we make a show.
And you, if you could consider yourself the audience of your own film, so that you actually portray, you're seeing what you gathered and the effect of your actors once you shot them and everything. What are you really proud about this? Like that you really say, okay, this is actually what I wanted, and specifically this is how I wanted to portray this story.
No, I'm proud of the idea of the people go to see them. I'm surprised sometimes because some of the movies are very difficult, and then people go and watch them. That makes me proud. The idea also is that I'm doing a movie the way I like to see movies.
Right.
So I see sometimes we're in coincidence with the audience.
It also, I haven't really said it earlier, but we're talking about figures and names that every household knows. But by being among them you really see how they function within this institution, or like the sort of almost like illegal institution, but it's actually on the very top of everything.
Yes.
What was your directorial move for the actors specifically? So how did you want to portray from Schäuble to Juncker to, of course, Varoufakis, Tsipras? So what was the real work for you as a director with them? You kind of like told them to do their own research and then work it on together on the dialogue, or it was actually more something to nail every scene, so with a certain mood?
No, the main idea was to don't speak about their personal lives,
right.
To stay away from that, and then to see what they are defending, what they believe, and what was their purpose. And I didn't like to have good or bad guys, but I made really a study of each one as the position he had and what he was defending, essentially.
Yeah.
And sometimes I discovered, like the president of the Eurogroup, for example, that he was a bizarre person to be there, because in the moment he said in the press that I don't understand people asking to help us after spending all that money on women and alcohol. 320 billions in women and alcohol. So someone says something like this and have a position, not important, because after all the Eurogroup, what is it's the government of the economics in Europe, because everybody accepts what they say. So being president of that, it's something bizarre. So I tried to go deeper in that character, and so how he's not a very serious person, that's what, to be at that position. Let's make it as simple.
To conclude, I just want to ask you something, because you said something about believing, like what the character believes, what those figures believe, but
right.
What do you believe after being so entrenched into this? So knowing pretty much, from the first page to the very back cover about what happened, what went down, and because it's disheartening, like even from a European perspective, from the concept of Europe as it should be, it's disheartening to see what went down and what is still going on.
To make it very simple, I think that 15 last years, the Europe has a very, very negative direction.
Yeah.
The presidents. And they make a catastrophe, and if we continue like this, we go to the catastrophe of Europe, if they don't change. And I hope the young lady who took the power now, she's the president, Mr. Leyen, she will change things. Because Barroso, everybody knows Barroso. I have met him, Barroso, 3 times with a delegation with European directors, filmmakers, because we are defending the cinema and the exceptionality as a law in each country. So he was a fake person. I don't like him. And also I think the president who just left, Juncker, which is a nice person, but I don't have a big respect for him, because he made out of his country when he was president, he made a paradise, fiscal paradise, which hurts all the European countries, all the big companies. 340 big companies have their offices there, and everybody loses billions in Europe.
Yeah.
And for people in Luxembourg, they have some millions. So I don't have a big respect for him either. So I hope, I repeat, Europe has to change, because it's necessary, Europe, for all of us.
Indeed. It's difficult to hope, but that's what we can. I would definitely need to hope and say to the people to go and watch Adults in the Room, the latest film by Costa-Gavras. Thank you very much for making it. Thank you for being with us here.
Thank you.
Fred Film Radio, the Festival Insider.